Hi, I'm David Nairn, Artistic Director of Theatre Orangeville, and I'm really happy to be with you today for the Orangeville Public Library's storytelling series here in the theater. We are the original storytellers, I think, of all time as theater artists, sitting around campfires 10,000 years ago telling stories. So this huge mastodon came down the trail, and I attacked it, and it attacked me, and it came after me, and I didn't know what to do, and it attacked me, and it killed me, and I was dead, and I never recovered from it. And everybody around the campfire laughed. That's what great storytelling is all about. That's what great theater is all about, is about telling those stories. I hope that you're happy. I hope that you're safe, you and your family and your loved ones, and I hope that you're staying somewhat sound. It's the arts that are going to get us through some anxious times that we're experiencing right now. Read a book, get a book out of the library, watch a film, watch a play on YouTube or wherever you go to for your entertainment. But that is what's nourishing us right now. Every single one of us. That is what is feeding our souls, is the arts. And so keep writing, reading, doing all that great kind of stuff. I'm not a writer, right up front. I haven't written a word probably since, well, high school. But I work a lot with writers. I work with playwrights. I work with novelists to bring works to the stage. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about, I guess, kind of a page to stage kind of approach as to how we bring a play forward from an idea that's torturing a writer and voices that are talking to them up here in their heads, and putting it onto the stage so that the story comes to full fruition. I guess I should talk a little bit about what I do, what my role is as artistic director of the theater. I have oversight for the entire operation, administratively, technically, and artistically, creatively, as to what happens on the stage. But everything that we do here at Theatre Orangeville, simply, or at any theater, I think, anywhere in the world, everything that we do, selling tickets, holding a gala fundraiser, whatever kind of activities that we may be up to, running ads in the paper, doing all that kind of stuff, all of it is for one purpose. Everything we do is for one purpose, and really one purpose only, and that is to serve the play. That is to serve the story that we are bringing to you. How do we work with a playwright? How do we work with the creator to bring that thing forward for them? I'm an interpretive artist for the most part. Theater is an interpretive art form, not exclusively, but for the most part, in that we take an existing piece of work, be it a brand new play by Norm Foster or Mark Crawford or whoever, or whether it's the work of Shakespeare. We take that work and we interpret the playwright's intent, meaning. We bring actors into the process who further bring their experience and their interpretation of what the character is about, what the play is about. And that's what we're really trying to do. That's my job. My job is to preserve an environment where artists can fail, where they can fail forward, where we can experiment, where we can sit and go, you know what, I love that scene, but it just doesn't work. You need to go home and rewrite that, or we need to change that, or something, it needs an edit here or a tightening there. It's a great process. Theatre Orangeville is a little bit unique in that our artistic mandate and vision is to do exclusively Canadian work written, commissioned, or composed, adapted by Canadians. That's kind of our focus. The only place that we don't do that, I guess, is with our young companies, because we do other works for other educational process. And of course, with our Creative Partners on Stage program, in partnership with Community Living Dufferin, our special needs acting company, we create new work that celebrates ability. So we're creating work on all kinds of different levels of age and of experience for all participants who join us. Plays are notoriously difficult to read, or a lot of people find it difficult. All of my staff read the play. They read every play that we produce on the stage. And some people say to me, David, it's tough to read a play. It's a little bit of a different discipline. If you're a novelist or if you're a poet, you're writing in isolation, as is a playwright, and it's a descriptive art form. Plays are written for one purpose. They're written to be spoken out loud and shared with others in some sort of forum, whether it's this kind of communication, or whether it's in a stage or an outdoor setting, whatever it is, it's to be telling a story live to people. That's what a play does. And not everybody is used to that kind of focus. They are meant to be spoken out loud. One of the things, a lot of people, last summer, we did an amazing production of Midsummer Night's Dream of Shakespeare, by Shakespeare, of course. And a lot of people went, oh, Shakespeare. Well, no, I don't know. I don't think that's for me. And when you drill down a little deeper and you ask them why, it usually comes down to two things. One, they studied it in high school and it tortured them. And two, they don't understand fully what is being said on the stage. Because of course, a lot, these plays were written almost 500 years ago. And so the language is different. It's not difficult once you kind of get your head around it, but it requires a little bit of work, and it requires that. So, God love secondary school English teachers. 90% of them teach Shakespeare well. Some of them don't. When I was in high school, my experiences with Shakespeare were not really great. I didn't understand it. I didn't get it because we didn't deal with it Shakespeare didn't write his plays to be studied in high school. He wrote them. He was a man of the theater. He made his living writing plays, having them produced both as a producer, as a writer, and as an actor on occasion in his own plays. That's why he wrote. He wrote to support himself and his family through that, and for those words to be spoken out loud. And I think if people understood or had a clear focus of that's the intent, and that they also understood that the majority of Shakespeare's plays are about one thing. They're about sex. The pursuit of sex, and therefore the pursuit of love. And I think if you turn a high school audience onto that component as to what the story is, one of the most accessible ones, I guess, is Romeo and Juliet. We did a production of R&J 4 or 5 years ago, and I had seen the play, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 times over the course of my career. And usually when I've seen the play, I've come away dissatisfied, because sometimes the Juliet or the young lovers are perhaps played by actors who are a little bit beyond that age-wise. In the play, Juliet is only 13 years old. The mask, the ball that she meets Romeo at is in celebration of her 14th birthday. So she's just about to turn 14 years old, which probably puts Romeo in the wheelhouse of 16, 17, 18 years old, perhaps. And I've seen the play many, many times. And when we did our young company production, I hadn't seen rehearsals too much. I came in and I watched the dress rehearsal in the theater, and my breath was taken away when I heard and saw a 14-year-old young woman stand on a balcony and say, "Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?" And a 16-year-old boy replied out of the darkness, "Somebody's going to get kissed, and a whole lot more." It's an amazing play. It's a play about teen suicide. And that landed super heavy on me when I realized that these are children. They're children that are telling this story, because it was written about children, albeit in Shakespeare's day. I mean, Lady Capulet, Juliet's mother, I think was 13 when she had Juliet. So she's a woman of only 27 years old. She's a young, vibrant woman, albeit in Shakespeare's time at 27, you probably had a long and hard life by that time. But she's still a young woman herself. But Juliet is 13. So when you see that, and in that context, you went, my gosh, these are children. They're contemplating suicide for love. And that just lands in a whole different way. And it landed with a younger audience who went, I understand what this play is about. I might not ever understand, Queen Mab. I might not understand some of these references, but I know what the heart of that story is about, because I'm experiencing that, because I'm a 16-year-old boy and I want to say those things, or I have friends that have considered certain ways about their life and things like that. So the play lands. It's interesting. The entire play hinges on a pandemic. It hinges on the fact that the messenger who was sent by Friar Lawrence to deliver the letter from Juliet to Romeo, explaining that she is going to be faking her death and it's not real, is forced to, by an outbreak of plague, is forced to go into quarantine. And the letter never gets delivered to Romeo. And so when he discovers Juliet's body, he believes her to be dead, and therefore takes his own life. So it just requires a little bit of a shift in your head. Those of you that may be writers and who have considered writing for the stage, it's something that it's a real, like any other kind of form of writing, it's a real discipline. And it just takes a certain approach to what it is. I had a great experience about 7 or 8 years ago now. I could look on one of my posters here in my office and tell you exactly what year it was. It was in April of 2015, so 5 years ago, we did Trevor Cole, a novelist. Trevor won the Leacock Award for some of his work and has been shortlisted for every major award that there is everywhere around the world. Trevor wrote an amazing book called Norman Bray and the Performance of His Life. It's a thinly veiled novel about his father, Bill Cole, who was a really renowned actor in Canada in the 60s and into the 70s, television and stage. And Trevor had always felt that it would be a really interesting, that because it was a story of the theater, that it might be really interesting to adapt it for the stage. He had tried it as a film treatment and it hadn't really landed for him. But Nancy Frater down at Booklore put Trevor and I together, and we had an opportunity to bring that novel forward to the stage. So if there's any novelists out there or writers out there who feel that they might have work that they'd like to see on the stage, get in touch, because that's kind of what we do. We have a new play development process. It's a very thorough one here. We have a dedicated fund, funds through the theater, that we're able to commission playwrights to write, to do what they do best, which is to write, and also to fully develop it. And what that means in our instance is that playwrights at home, writing, hearing voices, and maybe even more so than a novelist, because is writing voices, is writing specific words for specific voices to come forward. So the most important thing, as always with a writer, is to get those voices out of your head, out of their head, and into a forum where they can sit back and they can appreciate it. So we'll do a series of readings. I'm doing a couple next week where we're actually bringing two actors through Zoom or this technology. We're bringing two actors in from Toronto and two actors in from Los Angeles, and the playwrights. It's two playwrights and one. They're all over the place as well. So we're going to be bringing them together. And we're going to meet, gather, and we're going to read the play so that the playwrights can just sit back and they can hear those words wash over them. They can have their dialogue splattered upon them, and they can have a chance to experience those voices. Actors are amazing, amazing creatures. They're always like, especially in development, they're the canary in the mine shaft. If an actor trips over a word consistently, or there's a thought that's not clear, actors just it's right here. It's right at their fingertips. It's nerve endings. That's how they're sensory. That's how they're focused in terms of their response to what text is. Sometimes in a cold read, which is really interesting, where they haven't even read the play before. And invariably, 99 times out of 100, if there's a stumble, if there's a misthought, if there's a misunderstanding, it's because there's something in the writing that's not quite crisp enough, that's not quite focused enough, that needs to be drilled down into so that we can really make it specific and we can really have that opportunity. Then we pull together, perhaps not the same actors, or perhaps not even the actors that might be doing the play if and when we finally produce it, but we do some workshops. We bring them in, we sit in a room. It'd be interesting to see how this process rolls out as for the next little while, because we are still developing new work, of course. We have 3 new plays and 1 new musical in development right now, and we are continuing to develop those. And as I said, workshop. So I'm kind of curious to see what this online experience is going to be. But traditionally, in the past, who knows what the new normal will be, we would bring actors together into a room. We would read the play. We would discuss it. The playwright, we'd basically tear the work apart. Not maliciously, but I don't really know a really good playwright who's precious about their work. Everyone wants to make the work better, and they understand the process that actors and directors bring to what that is, dramaturgically speaking, from my point of view as well. Or dramaturgical folks that we bring in from outside. Our playwright in residence, Kristen De Silva, is very much involved in that sort of process as well. For us to be able to do that, we then have an opportunity for the playwright to go away, or the composer to go away and work 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever it takes. In order for them to come back, we'll then do another workshop, an opportunity to gather again, to work the changes. It's always exciting to have the playwright and or composer, depending on the nature of the work, in the room. It's a super creative time. Myself, actors love nothing more than being involved in the very first production, in the premiere production of something, because we have the playwright in the room. So I'm sitting there in the rehearsal hall, actors are up there, playwright is usually over on this side, just the way the table's set up. Playwright usually sits here, Dan Needles, Norm Foster, Mark Crawford, whoever it is. and is in the room as we're actually, so we go into rehearsals with a rehearsal draft, something that we've workshopped, something that's sitting around the table and on paper, everybody's happy with to that point. Then we start to put it on its feet. As we start to put it on its feet, then it takes on a different dimension again. It's not just spoken word, it's now actually physically stuff. Oh, so-and-so comes in here and they come through this door and this door slams and something else happens. It's a great thing. So once we start to do that, then the playwright gets a sense, okay, well, and this stagecraft, wait a minute, Mary's going off that door, wearing that, or it's a Saturday, and in the next scene I have her coming in over here like a split second later, and she needs to change her clothes. How do we deal with that? So we need to look at the stagecraft as to what that works, as to how the characters relate, not just storyline wise, but almost thematically as they appear throughout the play. So it all kind of starts to come into focus. It's a fascinating process. They say there's nothing better than having the writer in the room to be a part of that process, because suddenly it just comes alive. There's a huge responsibility, a joyous responsibility, one that we in the theater all look forward to, because invariably that initial production, many of which we do here at Theatre Orangeville, will define the life and future of the play. Not that people will want to copy our work by any stretch of the imagination, but just that decisions will be made over the course of a 3-week rehearsal period, normally with the playwright in the room, for the play to really, really have a life. There are, of course, certain parts where the writer needs to be sent away, because the process of actors trying to remember the lines and learn them can be a frustrating one, and that can ramp up frustrations elsewhere in the room. And also there needs to be a time, as any writer knows, you need to be able to take your work and just put it aside a little bit. Writer needs to be able to have been with us for maybe 10 days and then maybe go away for a week. Let us work and then come back and see the next stage of development of what the work is, because that's what it's all about how we build it, and how we do that. So as I say, working with writers is a real joy, and I think for the most part, I think that playwrights enjoy and benefit so much as writers from that process of being actually in the room, of being able to do that. Interestingly enough, playwrights that I've been talking to recently, established playwrights as well as writers who are looking to submit work for the first time, or in the midst of writing their first play, are feeling, as we all are, I think a little fraught, a little perhaps under-energized at time, a little trying to find inspiration. What do I write about? Where do I go with that? But at the same time, they're buoyed with optimism and hope and longing for brighter days, because that's what writers do. That's what writers dream of. And we will be there to help them bring those stories forward. As I said, we've got these 4 new works in development. It'll take anywhere from 12 to 24 months to bring them to the stage. But when they do, they will be informed by our times and informed by the creative process, which is so exciting. Also, as I said before, if you are a writer or would like to discuss, or if you have a play that you'd like to share, or you'd like to discuss an adaptation or anything like that, give me a shout. You can reach me through Theatre Orangeville, Nairn at theatreorangeville.ca if you want to drop me an email. I'm not a Facebook guy, I do confess, so I'm a bit old-fashioned in that way. So please continue to write, continue to read, continue to make movies, continue to dance, continue to make music, plays, continue to play, dress up in the backyard with your kids. Consider to keep celebrating, get a book out of the library by hook or by crook, and because there's lots of great ways to do that. And be happy, be safe, and most importantly, be well. See you soon.